If I were to tell you Tyrese Haliburton hit a clutch time shot to win or tie the game in each round of the playoffs in the last 5 seconds of each game, you'd say he belongs in elite company. Except you find out that no other player has actually accomplished what he just did in NBA history. Down double digits most of the game, hearing OKC in 4 chants, and being on the road, most would pack it up for Game 2. In fact, in finals games since 1971, teams were 0-182 when down 9 points with 3 minutes left in the game. But the Pacers decided to make history. Haliburton decided to make history. Sure, you can say it was just one game, but what if I told you that one win was just the tip of the iceberg of something that was brewing all season long for a small market 4th seeded second round exit team with an overrated player? In a recent players poll right before the 2025 playoffs started, Haliburton was voted league's most overrated player. As the leader of a team who made the Eastern Conference Finals in his 5th NBA season, which many players could only dream of, being called overrated wouldn't sit well with you. But little did the players who called Hallie overrated know, they would ignite one of the all-time playoff performances in history. After finishing with the number 4 seed with 50 wins, the Pacers would go on to play the number 5 seeded Bucks. A close matchup, but nonetheless, Indy was expected to come out on top. And when you have teams like OKC with high expectations, you best believe they wrapped up their first round series in a sweep. Well, Indy wasn't playing around either, with their star leading the way with 26 points and the layup against Giannis in overtime to take the lead with 1.3 seconds left.
4 seconds,
defeating the Bucks in 5. Clearly, Hallie wasn't a fan of the overrated talk, but as you already know, NBA fans would be barking back. In short, this series didn't prove anything new to fans about Hallie, because after all, it was just a washed up Bucks. Well, now came a legit team, the number 1 ranked Cavs, who won 64 games, and to put it nicely, Indy was not favored in this series. In fact, no GM in the entire league believed Indiana would be the team to make it out the East, or play second, or third. Indy came into the playoffs as the 4th seed, and either they would validate these GMs or give them something to talk about. Now, GMs had their reasons, especially when it came to the Pacers' leader. Take a look at Haliburton's points for each of the 82 games this season. As you can see, he can score as high as 35 in some games, and then get you a donut in games when it matters most. While other top players in the league, like SGA, have not once scored below 10 points this season. Obviously, this is a matter of consistency, not whether Hallie could score 35. This would be the series to make GMs reconsider their takes. And sure enough, Indy stole Game 1 on the road, but Game 2 is where the dagger struck. Indy was down 7+ with 48 seconds left. Now the Pacers only find themselves down 2, but with seconds left. Hallie had to purposely miss the free throw to have any chance of winning the game. And lo and behold, that's exactly what happened.
Carlisle's gonna let him play. Haliburton steps back and hits.
Pacers go up 2-0 on the road, shocking the NBA world. If I told you this wasn't even Hallie's best celebration this playoff run, you'd think I'm crazy. But more on that later. If he wasn't overrated enough, well, Cleveland made it known to him.
As you feed off of that overrated chance that the Cavs fan base was giving you?
Yeah, I mean, sure. That one was unexpected. I didn't know we had beef.
And after that, they never saw the light of day as Cleveland lost the series in 5 games. Now came the rematch with the Mecca. And after hearing talks about how their victory over the Knicks in the 2024 semifinals was a fluke, Hallie kept that in mind before the season even started.
The view on us as a group after having success last year and that kind of being looked at as a little bit of like a fluke in some people's minds is, I think, a big motivation and irritation. We have a ton of guys who have chips on their shoulders for different reasons. Everybody's been doubted one way or another.
7 months later, and this was the exact moment he was waiting for. How many chips does this guy keep on his shoulder? I don't know, but I'll add another one. When we think of faces of the league, the stars of the league, we think of SGA, Jokic, Ant-Man, Giannis, Jalen Brunson, Jason Tatum, Donovan Mitchell. In fact, Haliburton had just went up against 2 number 1 options that I'm sure many fans would rank above Haliburton. But the issue is, the media and by and large NBA fans are trained to think whoever scores the most points is a better player. Of course, more points means more attention, and more attention must mean better, right? Better is debatable, but attention is undisputed. Take a look at this chart that breaks down the points and assist averages for some of the top players during the 2024-2025 NBA season. If you break this chart down into 4 quadrants, the top right shows players who are pretty dominant, players who can score and get others involved. The top left and the middle shows players who are more pure scorers. If you're in the bottom right corner, you're a bum, and the bottom left shows players who would be considered more of a true point guard rather than a scorer, which to no surprise is where Haliburton lies, because he's known for primarily getting his teammates involved. In a score-driven league, the players that already get most of the attention, and to no surprise, are the ones near the top half of this graph. But points shouldn't be the only means by which we measure a first option player.
I do not want to judge Tyrese Haliburton by his ability to score points. Because if we judge Tyrese Haliburton by his ability to score points, we will live Tyrese Haliburton's whole career believing that he's not a superstar player.
So could he average 35 if he wanted to? I don't know the answer to that. But does it matter? No. Because the only moments that do are in the playoffs, the ones Hallie's made for. Now, Indy was a slight underdog against the Knicks, but they'd have to start on the road again. And for most of the second half, Indy didn't lead. That is until Aaron Nesmith went ballistic. Nesmith gave life, and all that was needed were, once again, 5 seconds. Because Haliburton would not just create history, but he would attempt to recreate history.
He'll backpedal a 3 for the win, and goal!
If not for his toe on the line, another light-skinned Indiana Pacers guard would have massacred New York, putting them to sleep in their own building. An eerily similar shot to Cleveland was one thing, but the fact that this was in the Mecca now got the attention of most. Hallie would go on to make another clutch shot in overtime, winning 138-135 and taking a 1-0 lead on the road as the underdog. This bouncer once again drained the life out of their opponent, never giving them an advantage in the series. New York finished in 6 games. Safe to say this run isn't a fluke, because in his 6th NBA season at the age of 25, Haliburton makes his first NBA Finals appearance. But if there was ever an uphill battle, well, Indy was yet again a heavy underdog in this series. And let's just say it wasn't looking good for them in game 1. They were down double digits for most of the game. Hallie had only 2 of 4 shots in the first half. He was a -7 and had 3 turnovers. He was pretty much a no-show for most of the game. But midway through the 4th, his team buried step-back off-balance three-pointers that you would think have no shot of going in. With under 5 minutes left, Hallie drives in the lane and cuts OKC's lead to 4. Now coming down to the wire, and as soon as Obi Toppin passes that ball, you knew who was going to shoot the ball. Would he do it once again was the only question everyone was thinking, and the moment answered.
Haliburton driving, pulls off, jump shot. It's good! With 3/10 of a second remaining.
He's not afraid of the moment. He is the moment.
How many more moments does he need to give you? Although Haliburton had a pedestrian game, 14 points, 6 assists, 2 of 7 from 3, he showed up when it mattered the most. And this moment wasn't overrated, it wasn't a fluke, it wasn't just a run. It's what his game is made of.
You got another one in you?
Well, I hope not. I hope I hope it doesn't get to those if we can control it. But if the moment's there, I'm always ready.
Seeing the end of game 1 to many might have been a clutch moment, but it was just a culmination of everything in the past that had been brewing up until that very point. They defied OKC in 4, once again beating the best defensive team in the league that was favored on the road in a game 1. Now, games like this aren't just a statement win, but a result from a snowball rolling into something historic. For perspective, LeBron James had 8 game-winning or game-tying shots in the playoffs, Reggie Miller with 5, but they never hit shots in successive playoff series all in the same year. Now, chances are you might have also thought Haliburton was overrated, which includes myself, until he backed it up in the playoffs. But what if I told you he's been doing this all season long?
We know what we're capable of. We've always known what we're capable of, and we don't need to talk about it. We'll just be about it.
Of course, there's reasons the media wouldn't cover this, which end up blinding many NBA fans, but more on that to come. Including the regular season, Haliburton is 13 of 15 on go-ahead or game-tying shots in the final 2 minutes of the fourth quarter this season. That's 86% from the field in the last 2 minutes. The next closest player, Jamal Murray at 53% and Jalen Brunson at 52%, with the rest of the league making those clutch time shots only 38% of the time, which is nearly 50% less than Haliburton. But scratch that. If I told you Haliburton is actually really 107% from the field in the last 2 minutes, you'd say I'm nuts. Well, if we take effective field goal percentage, which adjusts threes to be worth more than twos, and as Haliburton made 6 shots this year from 3 with 2 minutes or left, his effective field goal percentage comes out to above 100%. In other words, he is guaranteed to make a shot with 2 minutes or left to go in the game. And if you still don't get it, let me put it this way. After reading Tom the Finer's article, which goes more in depth on this, he explained it as is. If you give Shaq 14 dunks to make only 2 feet away from the basket, he's definitely going to make those 100% of the time. Now, if I give Hallie 14 shots to make it any distance from the basket, well, he actually has a higher than 100% chance to make those in. So in theory, you're better off taking Haliburton to make a shot anywhere on the court to win the game or tie the game than taking Shaq 2 feet away from the basket in the last 2 minutes. Now, this is all theory, but if you're shocked now, it's only because you haven't seen what Hallie was cooking the whole season. And you could thank the media for that. As you already know, Indiana is a small market team with a leader that isn't a traditional scorer, as I mentioned earlier. So of course, that doesn't bode well for ratings. And if casual fans can't see what teams are up to during primetime coverage, they probably won't get a better idea until the playoffs start. Just take a look at the number of nationally televised games for each team. Of course, the Lakers have the most at 39, followed by the Warriors at 36. If you think the Pacers, who made the NBA Finals, were in the top half of this list out of all 30 NBA teams, you're dead wrong. Even OKC finished with 25 nationally televised games at 11th, but Indiana had only 14 nationally televised games, finishing on this list at 16th out of 30th. Now, I know everyone's thinking that no one expected them to make the finals this year, but for Indiana to have less nationally televised games than the median number in this league, which sits around 17, is highway robbery. But no matter the odds stacked against him or the back and forth between the overrated talk, if you can create moments that define a legacy, which no other player has been able to accomplish, fans will recognize that, because that's what the game is made of, and that's what fans will remember when it's all said and done. Hallie's historic playoff run didn't end the way we wanted it to, but there's no doubt he was on pace to do something historic in a Game 7 with hitting 3 threes in the first quarter. Although the goalpost is going to be moved to whether Hallie can get back here and win a championship or not, and if he doesn't do so, critics will get back on the overrated train. It's safe to say he's had everyone struggling to overrate the season he's had.
Overrate that.